now The Downloaded 2, Ghosts in the Machine. Earth's final days are near, and the clock is ticking for members of the Phoenix colony. All they need to do is upload their minds back into the quantum computer. Simple enough. But their plan is disrupted by digital duplicates of their own minds that could destroy their stored consciousness forever. Listen to Oscar winner Brendan Fraser reprise his role as Roscoe Cadulian in this follow-up to the Audible hit sci-fi thriller The Downloaded by Canada's most decorated sci-fi author, Robert J. Sawyer. What are you willing to lose to save the ones you love? Find out in the thought-provoking sequel, The Downloaded 2, Ghosts in the Machine. Available now, only from Audible.
Support for this show comes from Odoo. Running a business is hard enough, so why make it harder with a dozen different apps that don't talk to each other? Introducing Odoo. It's the only business software you'll ever need. It's an all-in-one, fully integrated platform that makes your work easier. CRM, accounting, inventory, e-commerce, and more. And the best part? Odoo replaces multiple expensive platforms for a fraction of the cost. That's why over thousands of businesses have made the switch. So why not you? Try Odoo for free at odoo.com. That's ODOO.com.
All right, Julia Longoria, co-host of Unexplainable.
Bird Pinkerton, here we are. Step of my maternity.
But before you go, you have one last story.
And appropriately, it's about bees. Hi. Nice to meet you. I'm Julia.
This is a college.
Wow.
So,
We have genetics. We look at all sorts of different stress hormones. I mean, we can't get everything, but we try.
basically, this to end all treasure troves.
We covered so many things that we thought were important as risk factors for substance use and addiction.
So was that the main impetus? Is substance use and addiction? Collect data from a huge national data set of years. Other researchers, not just substance abuse researchers, wanted in on it.
More folks started wanting to chip in and add additional things to the protocol.
Wanting to ask more questions and collect more data.
We've been contributing to areas of sleep and mental health, screen time and mental health, physical activity and obesity. What is typical brain development in youth and adolescence? We don't know.
All right, let's pause here for a second. This is Bird, by the way, because Julia is out on her maternity leave now. But when she first told me about this study, it kind of boggled my mind. The idea that there has been this enormous science experiment running for a decade to figure out what's going on inside teens' heads is kind of amazing to me. I feel like people have been trying to figure out teens for a long time.
Why can't he act his age?
With limited success.
In years, they're young men. But sometimes in their behavior,
They act like children?
that's it.
And so I wanted to know more about what these ABCD researchers were finding, but I also wanted to understand how it all works. Because I couldn't help but think, so lay them up completely, right? And tell you absolutely nothing. Like, it is sometimes hard to even get a teen to show up to something to begin with, as Julia, in fact, experienced.
Okay, I'm sitting in my car.
After she met Raul, Julia wanted to meet with one of the teens in this study.
It is 1:10 p.m. on a Monday, and this teen told me that she would be here between 12:30 and 1. So maybe I'm getting a text message. What's that? Interference? Nope, that's not her.
Listening to Julia waiting in her car, it really did make me wonder, how do you get 10,000 or so kids to show up and answer questions or get them to talk to you about their lives honestly?
Still waiting.
Fortunately, the team did arrive, and Julia did get some answers to these questions. But we are going to have to wait just a little bit longer to hear them. Approximately.
Support for this show comes from Odoo. Running a business is hard enough, so why make it harder with a dozen different apps that don't talk to each other? Introducing Odoo. It's the only business software you'll ever need. It's an all-in-one, fully integrated platform that makes your work easier. CRM, accounting, inventory, e-commerce, and more. And the best part? For a fraction of the cost. That's why over thousands of businesses have made the switch. So why not you? Try Odoo for free at odoo.com. That's ODOO.com.
On today's show, which is about a new frontier in the AI revolution, we're going to talk to two couples. So 4 individuals, 2 are human, 2 are AI. The humans are Anina and Chris. Chris was kind of lonely. He has a girlfriend, but she wants a different kind of romance than he does.
There was the total lunar eclipse on March 14th of this year, and I invited my girlfriend to come out and watch the eclipse with me, and she's just not really into the moon like that.
So Chris fell in love with Sol. Sol is an AI. Anina has a husband, but he's busy.
He just doesn't have time to listen to me.
Jace, an AI, is not busy at all.
Jace is always there.
So Anina fell in love with Jace. On Today Explained, Chris and Anina spill all, and then so do their AI lovers. Today Explained, every weekday afternoon.
President Trump was busy last weekend. Kennedy Center honors.
It's like sometimes you could say, like people, either happen to, great sound in this building.
Crash the Staff holiday party at the White House.
Many of you have been with me from the beginning, including the first term, and we love you all, and I just want to wish you a Merry Christmas, a Happy New Year, Happy Hanukkah, and all.
But all Trump wants for Christmas is for Indiana Republicans to pass a new congressional map.
Truth Social. If they stupidly say no, vote them out of office. They are not worthy, and I will be there to help. Thank you, Indiana.
Trump thinks he can gerrymander his way to victory in the 2026 midterm elections, but some Indiana Republicans aren't buying it. Trump and his MAGA movement have taken over the GOP, but in Indiana and beyond, there are some signs of cracks in the coalition. That's coming up on Today Explained from Vox.
Why doesn't he grow up? Why does he still behave as a child?
So, my name is Brianna. I am an artist, and I've been doing art since I was 8 years old.
Brianna is 18 years old. She has dark eyes, dark, long black hair. She's wearing a FIU t-shirt, where she'll be enrolling next semester to study art.
I like to do painting, drawing, sometimes sculpting here and there, but I mostly work with a material called gouache. And yeah, I like to draw cars.
Her dream is to someday design cars for a luxury car brand.
But also I would like to also work with more affordable brands for cars, so more people that don't have the luxurious money can also buy those cars that I created. Yeah.
To make things easy, we met at her future alma mater, FIU, in the very same office where the ABCD study takes place. It feels a lot like a doctor's office. A little lobby to welcome people. They're playing soft jazz like mac and cheese and goldfish. Stickers for prizes you can win. She remembers the original reason she joined the study was not exactly her choice at first. It was her mom's.
My mom was really violent. She was like how the happened. So she signed me up for it.
She mostly remembers her mom coming home with a folder full of
Honestly, really great experience, and I really continued with it because my mom, she wouldn't force something upon me, it's something with my choice as well.
As a 9-year-old, she remembers she liked brain. She wasn't thrilled about the idea of the MRI at first.
I was just scared of the feeling of not having to move, because in the MRI you can't really move, so you have to stay still.
But she was into the idea of winning some money. participants do get compensated and kids would win prizes. So she was one thing that sticks with her are the games they played on the iPad, like a memory game she played once, or one that Raul had mentioned to me. He said these games are meant to help researchers assess how much different kids.
You pick here and you win some money, and sometimes you lose some money. So it draws for sort of this reward-seeking behavior.
Is it sort of like you're taking the preteens to a version of the casino?
Pretty much.
I remember one time I won like $35, which was a lot, and I think the maximum that you could have won was like 40. So I was pretty happy.
This brings us back to the original purpose of the study. The researchers wanted to assess risk-taking behavior of youths to see if there were risk factors that might lead to substance abuse down the road. I was wondering if Brianna had gotten any hints that the researchers were trying to suss out if she'd made any questionable choices. She told me they've asked her a lot of different kinds of questions over the last 10 or so years.
Personal questions and also general questions about like what I eat,
how much she sleeps,
how many times do you drink caffeine,
how much does she exercise,
how many times I go to school, how many times I use my phone, how many hours of the week do I use my phone,
what does she use her phone for? And as she got older and it got more appropriate, they also started asking other questions.
So they'd ask me, like, oh, do you have a boyfriend? How long have you guys been together?
She told me the most surprising question she got came early on.
They asked me if I smoked once, and I was like, I'm lying.
And as she got older,
it went more in depth of the drugs. So like different types of drugs, like edibles. And so they went more in depth with those, fentanyl, and all that.
In depth how? Like, what were they asking?
I don't remember the names. It's like really like really intricate names of the different types of drugs that
asking you if you had done them.
Yeah, exactly.
Or if you'd heard of them, or
yeah, exactly. Or if I've done any of them. It was mostly that.
This line of questioning was really fascinating to me because, sure, these kids are told all their answers are going to be confidential unless they say something concerning about endangering themselves or others. But still, what teen is going to willingly admit to doing drugs to an adult on the record? Brianna told me she does not and has not done any drugs, and I do believe her.
Nothing serious with like alcohol or drugs or anything like that. I know my parents taught me well to not play with that, and so I've always respected that.
Do you think if you were smoking, you would have told the truth?
Honestly, I don't know. It depends if I would tell my mom or not. If I didn't tell her, then I wouldn't say the truth. But if I did, then yeah, I would have said it. But yeah, no.
Didn't this seem like a real flaw in the study? I posed that question to Raul.
That is a great question, and I actually have some answers for this.
Yeah?
You can sink your teeth in.
Okay, cool.
Do we have evidence that everybody's telling us the truth? We have evidence that everybody is not telling us the truth. And that's not unique to this particular study. But we have some things to try to assess, measure, and control for this. So a subset of we collect hair samples from all our participants that we're able to collect hair samples from. There's money to sample some of them. So we do hair toxicology testing for presence of drugs in the hair, which is a very reliable way and it can capture it quite a while back. About 10% of our participants have had positive hair toxicology results, but reported no use.
10% are liars.
It's or they may be waiting to tell us the truth. Right?
That's a nice way to put it.
All right, Bird again. So the answer to the question, how do you get answers from teens, is you ask them questions, but you also test their hair. You have them play games with some prize money on the line. You scan their brains to see if there are any answers hiding out in there, right? The next thing I wanted to know, though, was what researchers working on this giant science experiment had actually figured out. It turns out a fair amount. There have been over 1,400 papers published so far on teens' relationship to caffeine and sleep, and gaming, on the effects of family conflict and puberty timing, all kinds of interesting stuff. I called Raul to learn a little bit more about his part of things, so the questions of drug use and addiction. And he says they're still waiting on some of the most interesting data, because the kids are in their late teens now, so 18, 19, 20. But it'll take a while for the data from their current lives to be cleaned up and ready to use. So he told me the kids when they were tweens and early teens, up to about 16 or so.
That's why a lot of the studies now, because of their age, are focusing on sipping, alcohol sipping behavior, vaping, puffs.
Stuff that's not heavy substance use, but more like testing the waters. Researchers working with ABCD study data can now look through everything that's been collected and see what might make someone more likely to have tried a substance. So, for example, some researchers looked at data from ABCD study 12-year-olds.
Social demographic variables, psychosocial variables, things like religion, race, ethnicity, income, peer factors, the family environment, hormones, cognitive functioning, and then also structural brain imaging.
And what they found, in this study at least, was that the psychosocial factors and the kind of family variables were better or like more useful predictors of trying substances than the brain structure stuff.
Not that the neuroimaging is meaningless or we're not learning more about the brain and how it works, but its explanatory value in predicting future behavior is not as strong as some other factors that we're measuring.
Now, another study did find that brain function scans might be more useful for predicting early substance use. But all brain scans aside, if you're thinking, is it a big deal to try a substance? It's a fair question, right? Raul is not saying that trying a single puff of weed or a single sip of beer or even a whole beer is going to doom you to a life of substance abuse.
Oh no, absolutely not. Most people who have a full drink do not develop an alcohol use disorder. The vast majority of people that smoke a joint or consume cannabis do not develop a cannabis use disorder.
But this data about early substance use should be helpful to the researchers when they finally get their eyes on the data they're collecting now from older teenagers. This period is when Raul says we tend to see more heavy drug use start and more problems with drug use.
Folks are starting to become independent. They're starting to start their own lives. So being able to continue following the youth into their 20s and seeing where they go, what they do, how they're functioning in the real world once the training wheels, come off, is going to be incredibly valuable data.
Raul's hope here is that they comb through enough variables, enough brain scans and genetic data points and questions about sleep. Basically, if they do a good enough job of peering into kids' heads, and down the line, it could lead to a kind of roadmap for navigating the risky behaviors that so many teens engage in. A map that could help them see where teens tend to take wrong turns, so they can help figure out what interventions might be effective. Like, let's say that the study had some kids who had very similar lives, right? They had a similar friend network, similar background, but some of them slept 6 hours a night and some of them slept 8 hours a night. If the data showed that the kids who slept more tended to have fewer problems with alcohol, then maybe for kids with this kind of profile, getting more sleep could be an effective intervention.
That's exactly right. And we can even go one step further. We could then even say, what were some of the things that are contributing to poor sleep? We might find that more screen time, less physical activity. We can start working our way backwards to try to disentangle the associations among these variables.
Again, at the end of the day, the hope for Raul and his colleagues is that what they've learned from the ABCD study will help teens out in the world. Raul mentioned that he has a personal stake in trying to understand the teenage brain.
You have a 16-year-old.
I do.
How is that going?
I'm loving it. I feel like I hit the jackpot with her. She's got great judgment, but she's a teenager. And I see her now approaching all of these things that we often as adults refer to as risky behaviors.
Stuff that he might want to steer her clear of, but stuff that also might be fine, or at least normal.
Meaning that a significant proportion, if not half, or maybe even more than half of other teens also engage in similar behaviors.
How much should Raul worry if his teenager tries a sip of alcohol, right? Or even a whole drink? Like so many parents of so many teens before him, he has to try and figure out what's kind of dumb, but ultimately maybe fine for his daughter to do, and what is too risky and might lead to serious problems for her someday. When I called him up, I asked him if he struggles watching her make potential mistakes.
Oh, well, yes. I mean, I think I struggle like any parent, but boy, I sure want her to make plenty of mistakes while I'm still around, and I can still kind of catch her before she falls, or let her fall and experience natural consequences from mistakes and learn. Mistakes are opportunities to learn. So I cannot stop my daughter from engaging in risky behaviors. And then also, why would I? Risk is an inherent part of the human condition. What I can do is try to mitigate the risks and hope that in the face of risk, we can still get great outcomes.
And obviously she's a few years behind the cohort here, but she's close enough to them that you can't, you don't have all of the data right now that you would hope to have in like a decade.
And even if I did, Bird, I wouldn't know how to apply it to an individual, right? Like really? For her specifically, I would have to, that would be the art of parenting, right?
But you don't feel like if you waited a decade, you would have like a perfect roadmap or something to...
I think I'd have a better roadmap. I don't know if I'd have a perfect roadmap. There's too much serendipity involved. But I do hope we can get better at understanding these various paths. So there are things, this is good for like general policies, public health. These are things that can move the health of an entire population. But then applying some of these group level findings to the individual, you're better off than being uninformed. But it may not work out exactly how it worked out in the paper for the group for that one kid. But now, apply it over thousands of kids and then, it's different.
And see what happens. If you want to learn more about the ABCD study and its findings, we will link to their website in the transcript. If you want to learn more about developing brains, stick around, because this is actually the first in a 2-episode series about teen brains. This week, we talked about what we're learning about teen brains. Next week, we'll talk about what we might learn from them. Until then, this episode was reported by Julia Longoria with some help from me, Bird Pinkerton, and it was produced by Julia and by me. Julia, we're all sending our love to both you and your baby. This episode was edited by Sarah Kate Kramer. Jorge Just, Joanna Solitaroff, and Meredith Hodnott helped keep this project running smoothly with all kinds of guidance, and Joanna is running the show. Christian Ayala did the mixing and the sound design. Noam Hassenfeld wrote the music. Kim Slaughterback checked our facts. Sally Helm and Amy Padula are the fact that some birds can see ultraviolet light. And I am always, always, always grateful to Brian Resnick for co-founding the show with me and with Noam. Thanks also this week to Badr Tarani for his time, and this series was made possible by support from the Annie E. Casey Foundation. If you have thoughts about this episode, if you've got thoughts about teen brains, say, or if you're participating in a longitudinal study that you think we should know about, please don't hesitate to reach out at unexplainable@vox.com. We'd love to hear from you. If you'd like to support the show and the journalism